But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I'm Blaze. This is n0tail. How's it going, man?
Hey man, it's going good. Going real good now.
Whew. Yeah, after that game, I gotta imagine. Just obviously, this is the most obvious question on the planet. But how does it feel? After all that work, after being behind as far as towers and racks, where's it at, man?
It all really started with the first game. Like, we didn't feel like we needed to lose that game, but then we went ahead and lost that game. So already there we were like, oh damn, this sucks. And then having this constant pressure on in the third game makes the wins worth so much more. Like, there's been so much pressure for us that game, and there was like the slightest mistake in that situation would cost you dearly. And we have to value so many different things, like when can we chase and take tower damage or base damage and so on. So it's very stressful, but yeah, to the question, like, it feels so fucking good.
Yeah, that I can just imagine. I mean, obviously, like you said, you didn't want the match in general to go that way for the first couple games, but that game 3 definitely pulled it out. And it wasn't just the fact that it went that long and there was so much pressure, but like you had your mid racks down so early on that you were fighting from behind the whole time. But it really worked out for you guys. I loved the Trixie bait. Up on top, kind of putting him in the position where you could gank up with the CK. A couple of things just about the Wisp play in general. What are your thoughts about like the global reaction that you kind of had? It's like in a situation you want your CK to be right there, or you want to pull him out of the action. What's kind of going through your head right then?
The thing about the whole pullback thing, it started coming naturally to me in a few Whisper games ago, but in that game, I knew that they were gonna 5-man somewhere. They had Sheeps, they had a Rubik stun. So I've done this many times before, whereas if they jump the important hero, you just TP him a bit further back, or you start to TP, then you tether, and you produce the damage, you heal him up. Very hard to kill, and you get him in a good position, and then they can't just stick there as 5, because they know that we have a chance to take a 5-on-5, and we could just charge at them at that point. So it's like, when you're ready for the save, it's not the hardest thing in the world to do, really, but you gotta watch out to not get stunned after your ulti, because that cancels the channeling. But yeah, I've gotten quite a grip with Wisp. Funny enough that we played a scrim before our games, and then we got Wisp, and then props to Liquid, they gave us Wisp twice, even though we almost never lose with Wisp. So it was something that they felt comfortable going up against, which is like always scary if you know that that's a team's strong side that you wanna try to beat that.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty interesting how that worked out in the long run. I mean, those games in general were just back and forth like crazy. But one thing, questions for like item choices and things along those lines. The CK never ended up going for an MKB versus the Butterfly of Luna. Is their mindset behind going the heart focus instead and just trying to DPS through it, or?
The thing in that game was that what would really deal the most damage in the fights was the Darkseer wall. And if Zika would choose to tank up rather than going MKB route, he would be able to tank all the glaives forever. Like, this is just what's going through my mind right now. I can't tell you 100% that would be better, but I still think the Manta route with tanking up kind of helped a lot in that fight, because he would always stay around the Luna. I could then stay tethered to him without taking all these glaives bounces, because we bounce to the closest target, and in that way, I still think the strength route is always the best to go on CK, or the strength and tanking route, rather than using an inventory slot on an MKB.
Absolutely. So another question about items was your Heaven's Halberd. How instrumental was that in that last fight? It was so chaotic. It was hard to keep up on all the disables, but
that was the one goal I had. Stop the damage on the throne. I spam clicked it on him till it went, or just before the BKB went off, so it got on right away. I think that was maybe second time I used it that game. I just bought it because I knew that, well, maybe half the damage comes from Luna, and the other half comes from the wall. So I could stop half the damage for quite a while if I get it on the right time. And strength is never bad when there's so much chaos in team fights and you always get low.
Yeah.
So Halberd was a pretty obvious choice, I'd say.
Yeah, most definitely. So at the beginning, they definitely tried to play kind of team fight versus Wisp. Did you feel like it was at that stage in like the first 15 to 20 minutes that Wisp was a bit of a wasted pick, or you knew that his time would come?
Oh, no. The thing about like what people usually get too obsessed about when they see a Wisp is the global presence. It's always there, you can punish people, and you should, when you know that they will spread out, like not stay close to each other, close to towers. But if there's situations where you don't have vision and you're not sure if they're behind them and it could be a bait and so on, the Wisp TP can backfire big time. But the whole thing about Wisp CK combination is that it's strong on lane, it's always strong throughout the game, and the whole Tether Reality Rift, like it's just that's worth enough for the pick. Not the ulti alone, but like that alone makes the combo like almost worth picking. The Reality Rift and Tether.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Now, one thing was about the fact that Fly hasn't been drafting for you the past few days. How difficult has that been? I mean, I kind of feel like he's been you guys have been relying on him for that quite a bit, but do you guys feel like you're managing without him, or obviously still at a bit of a loss without?
Well, right now I started doing it. Before it was Kai, and before that, that was when Tal left, and before Tal left out, and then he was drafting, and I think it was really bad. Just when he left, Kai took over. It was bad then, and then I took over. It was really bad. But now I started taking a lot more serious, giving in a lot more thought, and I think I'm starting to draft lineups that match us pretty well.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to get most out of the like. I don't think too much about synergy to an extent. I can see how they work together, but yeah, I draft a lot like on ideas I get. That's why I kind of do it quick and I don't use all the bonus time, because if I have an idea, I know that if I don't stick to it, it becomes really bad. That's what happened second Navi game. I don't know if you watched that. We had a pretty decent game one against Navi. Second game, that draft was horrible, and that's because I didn't really have an idea, and it kind of got shattered like after the first two picks. So I stick to the same idea, and now the drafts are going pretty decently for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Whose idea was it to pick in game 2 the Chen and mostly focus on Dark Troll Summoners to counteract the Batrider initiation?
I picked the Chen for the pushing purposes, but the trolls are like the best pushing creeps you can get early game. And I had those creeps for a long time, and I got more trolls later on. And when you can get trolls, you usually just take them and try to keep them. And that's what I did. And well, Batrider was often caught out by like where we would have had blink up, and he didn't think that the troll would net. He would just walk around in net range. But it wasn't so much to counter it. It was just, you see a Batrider jumping in on someone. If you can keep him in place, then you should do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, what was the role in Silencer in that situation? Obviously, it's more for the utility. He was a support in nature, but do you feel you could have done it with a different support? Do you think the Silencer pick was necessary, or just worked out that way?
Ooh, I think every time I play with Silencer, I still like try to get to terms with how good that ulti is. That ultimate has so much potential if you teamfight properly with it. But it's also a risk, It's a big cooldown ultimate. So, but I don't know if I don't think another support hero could have done it against their early strat. Like, it's a very good tool to take team fights with. Sure, another approach we could have had to second game, seeing an early Chen pickup. I think it was in the first 3 at least, is to have a lot of deep push. But we went with a more fight-oriented draft, so we have to take fights. That's what we tried to do. We lost the fight, then they got extra gold, and then they were able to take racks where we couldn't fight back. But then we got strong enough to take fights, and we didn't have any deep push, so that's all we could do was initiate and take a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So was that obviously they handed you with CK quite a bit? Do you feel it was, like you said, it's probably one of your stronger heroes? You don't really lose like that. When they started breaking down their team fight and just kind of going for throne, just going to end it, do you feel that was kind of where they kind of got unhinged a little bit? And as a follow-up question, comparing their kind of attempts at Rat Dota with Boots of Travels Luna compared to yours, is there anyone that does Rat Dota better than Fnatic?
No. We invented this shit. This is ours. We are Rat Dota. There's no contesting it. But I think that as you might say that they would get desperate when they try to push the bottom continuously. It's not so much desperate as of it was hard to evaluate. Like, I had a hard time evaluating whether or not that we would win a 5-on-5. I think at that point I thought that it could go either way. But I knew that we had to take a fight. We can't just give up another set of racks, not with our heroes. Like Bounty picked up a Battle Fury late game just to deep push our one lane. That just shows that our heroes are not really meant to deal with this kind of thing. And losing a side against a Furion is hard enough as it is. So, like, when they were pushing bottom, I don't think it was because they were getting desperate, but it was like a lack in plans. They didn't have anything to fall back on. They had to go for it right now. If they keep trying to farm, they can't farm alone. Then they need to farm as 5, and we can split farm, and that way we're gonna get way further ahead the longer the game drags on. And that's the whole Wisp CK. It forces people to stay together.
Exactly.
And if you don't, you can punish it. So.
Yeah, that definitely
was,
took effect in that one there, obviously. That was,
Yeah.
I mean, you got this huge gold advantage, and you were just throwing, I mean, you had the Scythe on the Bounty Hunter, you had the AC on the Star Spirit. It was all a little crazy, but the fact is, you guys had so much cash to work with that although it seemed like you guys were fighting from behind, you still took those engages extremely effectively. So, how do you feel about the Roches? Like, the cheese over and over on Trixie, was that what you had to do to be able to pull out?
The most important thing about the Roshan in general was to deny them the Aegis. That was how they could actually push into our base, was with the Aegis and Luna in front. Because none of them could really stay in front. If someone else than Luna stays in front with their BKB, well, you can get jumped by Storm, force the BKB, and then you can like jump back, or even just go for the fight then. I mean, she doesn't have the Aegis, you can just go on her. And if she had the Aegis, she could stand in front, and you can't blow too much on her, and it becomes a real problem when she gets the Aegis. So the whole Roche fights was more about getting strong enough, first of all, to contest it, because they had such an early gold advantage, and XP mattered less right there, I feel. So they could get the Roches there, but when we got strong enough, we had to contest it. But it was more about denying it, like denying the Aegis from them. Not so much getting it, but sure, that's something you always want, but we were on the backhand, so we can't... It's hard for us to force an Aegis use. We can't just push in against them. That's still risky, even with an Aegis.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of all was for denying the Aegis from them.
Makes a lot of sense there. How about the Roche fight in game 1? That was like back and forth forever, man. Dude.
Yeah, I remember now. Damn, that was... I remember that from a scrim once where they had split, but no, that was something. We knew that like we could do it, but they had so much long range stuff to harass us with that if we would have kept going, they would have went on us and most likely won a fight, because I wouldn't have had creeps, and Nyx would have been half HP, they would have won the fight and taken Roche. So we had to be patient about it, but they wouldn't give up on it. So like we kept forcing them to go there, and they would have to be 5 together, because if one of them wasn't there, we would just continue going or maybe get a jump on them. So they would go 5 there, and then we would back off. They can't go for it. It was a funny situation. Yeah.
They got pretty ridiculous pretty quickly, but in the end, do you even feel like, obviously you guys generally came out on top of most of the exchanges, so you obviously felt like that was advantageous for you guys, but like the fact that the Darkseer wasn't really as impactful as it needed to be, I kind of surprised me how it ended up being playing out, that the team fight oriented lineup wasn't as good at controlling the Roshan compared to the gank oriented lineup. Is that just because you guys are more mobile and active about it, or?
What game were you talking about now? The third one?
Yeah, I actually think mostly in the second one, it was they had like these big team fight abilities and stuff like that. Great ways to find pickoffs, and then.
But that was the Batrider Mag and Darkseer combo.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the thing is, we had a solo silencer in that game. I think. Yeah. No,
yes,
wait,
that was. Yeah, you ran a top lane silencer. You did.
And that was the game we won. Oh god, I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, obviously you've been through quite an ordeal there, but.
Yeah, but the whole thing about those initiations is that you kind of commit in both. If Mag jumps in, he's putting himself in everything. Sure, you ulti and then you can skewer out, but skewer has a long cast time. And with the same thing with Bat, you jump in and you lasso someone and you gotta get out quick. Even with a 4-step, if the silent pops, you can still catch up to him, and it's scary to initiate against a silencer. That's like, especially with those kind of heroes where you put yourself on the line, because you do it, then not only did they kind of waste an RP if they don't have some cleave to kill you, then they're gonna get hunted down afterwards, because RP is down, Mag is in the middle of everything, you go for him, 5v4, you chase on. Like, it's scary in general just to initiate against a silencer, especially when your follow-up relies on spells.
What about like the Lone Druid? It seemed like he was always getting first hit in tangles. Like, what's that about?
Oh yeah, that was really funny, because we had a game where Trixie played it. He didn't get a single one in like 15, and then Honey plays Solar Bear. So I think I'm gonna put Honey on Solar Bear from now on. That's just how it's gonna be.
Logic, yeah. It,
Yep.
it, it seems like
Yep.
the best course of action, obviously.
Yep.
Underperforming in the first hit entangle position there. So,
Got it out of entangle.
truth. Kind of moving past the games, obviously that was awesome stuff. But what's in Fnatic's mindset for the future? Looking at like the recent patch that came out, is that going to be relevant in how style has changed? Is new heroes like Timbersaw in Captain's Mode or Drow Ranger when she gets ported? Is that going to impact your style at all, or?
Well, the draw range, I have no clue because I just read that she got a heavy nerf, hit really heavy, but that's too early to say. I don't think Timbersaw will ever have an impact unless they do some Furion combo with it. I imagine because it's just too unreliable. But the whole Tranquil Boots thing definitely changes things. Like that got a heavy nerf as well. And I think it's deserved. Those boots are way too good, and I still don't get why the cheapest boots give the most movement speed. But that's just how it is, and well, after the patch, it's gonna change a lot for sure. But as for style, I'm not sure. We're still learning like new strategies, and there's still some heroes that I at least want to draft that we haven't taken into play. And but yeah, Dota has always been about mostly applying pressure. Like there's obviously different styles, but it always comes down to applying a lot of pressure somewhere. So the whole rat Dota thing is. I think it's going to be there to stay forever. I mean, it's always been there in Dota. We just got stickmated for it because we did it like some hardcore extent. But yeah, I think I think the style is going to remain for us.
Awesome. I mean, it's a fun style to cast at the very least. It's obviously fun for you guys to play quite a bit too, and you guys have a lot of
very intense. Very intense.
Definitely helps viewers be on the edge of their seat. That's for sure. But yeah, so Tranquil Boots change. You're talking about that a little bit. That's pretty much the core item that you pick up on Meepo right off the bat. How do you feel that's going to affect him?
Well, they keep nerfing them boots for Meepo. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go Treads next. I think I would still get the Tranquil Boots because they remain the HP region. I mean, the 75 movement speed remains the same. I think when it's activated. Yeah. And then now it comes with a downside that you get less movement speed than red boots if they get deactivated. But I would still pick it up early, just for the farming purposes, I think. And then obviously you're not gonna keep it for that long. I actually think that the nerf is gonna help some professional teams. Like their carries tend to stick with Tranquil Boots till 50 minutes into the game, and we've always looked down upon that in our team that they would stick with Tranquil Boots for that long on carries, especially like heroes like Phantom Lancer. I think you are to change them out like before the 60-minute mark, and often they just keep the boost till they're filled out in inventory slot. So that I think that the Tranquil Boost nerf might force people to actually play better, if you can put it like that.
Yeah, I guess that honestly, like the way that people play, they just kind of fall back and it's like, oh, I could take half of my health and damage because I can just walk away and get all that HP up. But
it doesn't matter, like when you have a heart on peel, like I've seen it in the craziest games where they have buyback cooldown, they have 5,000 gold, and they still don't upgrade their Tranquil Boots to Travs. Like I just don't get it, but I think it might actually benefit some teams now.
Yeah, it's definitely forces people to be a little bit more dynamic with that kind of choice. So, a couple of questions before, like 2 more questions before I leave it to you to do shoutouts and stuff like that. I know I've kept you a while, and that was a crazy game. But the dynamic with Fly not being there, who was really calling the shots for the most part? Who was the most active talker there? And also, how did Synderin fill into it? How did he work with your lineup?
Well, Tal usually never talks that much. He starts out with a game plan. That's how we usually worked it together. We bounce the ideas forth and back. He starts out with a draft, has a general idea, and if there's another option to go with the draft, laning-wise, then people would suggest it. We would like maybe take a vote on it, just quickly. But then all the shots in the games are called by different people. It's all about what pops up where. Of course, there are obvious decisions that everyone can agree upon, but sometimes you have to take it up for a small debate. Like, for instance, in the third game, something came up as if we were to not fight the tier 2 towers and we probably wouldn't even get tier 1 towers. But we should focus on farming up as much gold and XP as we could, and then take the fights outside our base, like at the tier 3 towers. I decided that we should try to fight outside tier 1 towers, and we lost that fight big time. And I think that might have cost us to lose the base that early. I'm not sure if we could have done it better, but Trixie's idea was to just keep farming, and that might have been the better idea. So that's like how the games go. It's what people think is going to be the best way to go in the game, and what people realize. Like, so this it remains pretty much the same without Fly. The main problem is since he left, that was the draft, but now we're kind of working that out. And the good thing about Synderen is that he's very active when it comes to talking. Often when you have a ringer, they're kind of shy and don't speak out too much about things they might see or opportunities they might see. And Synderen does a really good job, like when it comes to that, and he plays like surprisingly well, like for ringer and synergy wise, how he works with us on the tri lane and stuff. So yeah, he's doing a great job filling in.
Absolutely. Well, that is awesome to hear, and hopefully Fly will be back pretty soon. Is that right?
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, he should be ready to play tomorrow.
Awesome.
I think he's already back tonight.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, having your full roster back will help out in a great extent, but having a stand-in there and still coming out on top up against Team Liquid has to feel good, and I'll leave you to enjoy that and appreciate it. I just want to say congratulations on that, and if you want to give any shout-outs or anything?
Gambuga Gaming, n0tail, and all our sponsors, and my teammates for that awesome third game. That really, like, I'm sweating. I'm not even kidding. This is armpit sweat. It's been a while, but damn, that was an intense game. So yeah, shout out to them, and shout out to Synderen again for ringing. Thank you very much, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on the interview, and you have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.
See ya.